Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another review show, Premier Division review show. This one, I'm delighted to be welcomed by Luke McQuillan and JP Fahy. What's the story, boys? Do we well?
Oh,
Or
good,
that's
yeah.
it.
Not a bother, not a bother. We'll start off at the Brandywell, simply because it's alphabetical order where Derry City beat Bohemians 1-0. Through a brilliant goal from Michael Duffy. We'll talk about that in a second, JP. But before we get into the logistics of the game, we have to talk about Kieran Call. And he obviously took an awful landing, let's say, went up for the ball, essentially landed on his back and neck. Now, luckily, the latest update is he was obviously brought to hospital. I believe he was unconscious for about 10 minutes. You'd be able to know that more than me. You were at the
Yeah,
game, but the good thing is he's home now, which is good. And
yeah,
there was nothing found in scans or anything that could have
yeah.
been wrong. Let's say. Hopefully he'll be back
No,
soon as
like,
well. Obviously, and well.
yeah. All best wishes go to Kieran. Absolutely outstanding footballer. Um, Signed for us in 2019, got Player of the Year in his first season. Been kind of in and out of the team under Rory Higgins. But there's one thing that he does do when he's in there is he gives it his all. And um, over the last few weeks, he seemed to have got himself a run of matches, and it's just a freak accident. He's gone off for a header over the top, and he's landed quite close to landing on his neck, to be honest, like on his head, kind of putting his whole body with. Um, when I saw it happen, I didn't realize it obviously takes you a few seconds.
Mm.
They realize that there was something up. When the physio come on, then straight away he's looking for the doctor, and then when the Bose doctor end goes on, then that's when you know that everything is not what it should be. Um, but the latest that I've seen on Facebook from a family member of his is that he's home, he's resting. All the scans showed everything to be clear, and he's hoping to be back playing as soon as possible. So it all sounds good, but definitely could have been worse. And hopefully, it makes a full and speedy recovery.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose on to the game, and I suppose Michael Duffy lit it up. It's his first goal back, JP, for Derry City in the league, is it?
No, he scored against UCD last week as well.
Sorry, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You're right. So he's on a run here, isn't he? But
Yeah,
this one was I like describe it for me. It was unbelievable, wasn't
it was
it?
it was just a bit of magic, literally a bit of magic. The best player in the league for my, I've said it even when he was at Dundalk, he's the best player in the league on his day. We're just unfortunate that in his first game for us, first 5, 10 minutes, he was taken out of it and he was out for for close to 3, 4 months. Um, as Higgins keeps saying it, that if he had him for that 3 or 4 months, we definitely would be pushing Shamrock Rovers. Well, we are pushing them. We're four behind them. Yeah, they've a couple of games in hand, I think so, or one game in hand. I'm not sure, but we can't look back. We just have to keep looking forward. We've got him now. Keep him fit. Um, and he's just absolutely unbelievable. When it from my position in the Mark Fire stand, when it hit the post, I actually thought it came back out, and then I just seen all the Derry players running towards him, and that's when I realised that the ball had ended up in the back of the net. Then the more you watch it, the better it gets. And there's
Mm.
an angle from the south end stand right
I've
behind it.
seen it. Yeah.
You just see the bend on it. It's absolutely out of this world. If that was
Mm.
scored in the German league
Mm.
yesterday or today or the Spanish league, be shown all around the world. I know I think it's made the news in the sports news and ESPN in America. So
Like he's an excellent,
unbelievable.
like he really is a good player. Like he's been a massive loss to Derry. I seen him a couple of weeks ago. He didn't look fit against Dundalk, but he's come into it and he's got better and he's got better. And it's those type of things, those type of moments in a game that wasn't an easy game for Derry as well.
Exactly. That's what my next point was going to be. Was like you think back to those 7 games that where we drew or we lost that
Yeah.
we couldn't buy a win. It was a kind of magic, bit of magic that we were missing from him. Or I know a couple of games. I think the game we drew with St. Pat McElhinney's hit the post and for with a good effort. And it's just that type of magic that we're missing. But there was two moments
Mm.
of magic in the game. One was a goal, and the other was a save from Brian Maher with his feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's and Higgins touched on it in his post match interview. It's a game we probably wouldn't have won a month or two ago.
Mm.
But and this is another thing, is we've beaten Bows 3 times this year, and there's only been one goal in it. But it's the first time we've kept a clean sheet against them. Bows did have good chances in the game as well, but Derry 3 or 4 times had put the ball across the box, and with Graydon tucked in, trying to get on the end of it, there was nobody coming round the back to finish it off, and it's just wee things like that where you could get yourself a cushion, because it just seemed to be going the same way as the Dundalk game, where we were starting to drop deeper and they were starting to command it, and you're just fearful one ball in the box is going to end up in the back of our net. But thankfully it didn't. I think it's 4 clean sheets in a row for Derry. It's 5 in the last 6 games, and that's the kind of form that you're looking for at this stage of the season, especially when you're trying to put a bit of pressure on Shamrock Rovers.
Absolutely. Luke, I suppose from Bow's point of view, we talked about last week how it's all right, like they lose their manager and then a big performance is Rovers. However, they did put in a good performance here, to be fair as well. Okay, they didn't get the points, but their fans have to be happy with the effort and performance they put in, because they can say themselves that obviously they were beaten by a cracker, number one, so not a mistake, which we often see Bow's making silly mistakes. No mistake here, you know what I mean? And not only that, but they did create chances in the game and they had opportunities themselves. So they still have to take a lot from this going ahead to next week, obviously, don't they?
Yeah, no, they do. Look, it's disappointing for them. I think they'll be disappointed that they didn't take one of their chances, but they would have been happy with the performance, I'd say. Like, obviously, look, you can be happy with a performance, but if you don't get a result, there's no real point of, look, you can say they played well, do you know what I mean? But Derry got the 3 points, and that's all that matters. Like, it's not as if, but like we're saying, Bowes, played well. And yeah, look, that's probably an improvement from what they've seen the last couple of weeks. But
I think that's the point.
Still not.
Yeah, I know. I think that's the point, Luke. I think for the last 2 weeks before that, they were terrible, shocking.
Yeah, no, there is an improvement. You can see the players are putting it in, like, do you know what I mean? But I still, you have to just question quality in that, you know what I mean? And it's a big question for them, because they still are lacking serious quality. Like, you just look at the chances they had. Like, that was a great chance that Brian Maher made a brilliant save, not taken away from the keeper, but you've got to score it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to put it away, and it's then it's there. You've got to be ruthless. You know what I mean? Obviously, look, Brian Maher's done excellent to save it, but like, you've got into a good area. You've got to be a bit more ruthless. I
think if he goes far corner, Luke, I think he scores. I don't think Maher can get to it. Like, if he goes far corner,
that's possibly. But look, it's disappointing for Bowes, but brilliant 3 points for Derry. Look, I've said it last week. If you're winning football matches, it breeds confidence into a team, and we're entering that business end of the season, as they call it, like the run in. So if they can keep getting points on the board, they'll fairly consolidate that second. They'll push up, you know what I mean, and you can see that they probably are that level above Dundalk and possibly Pats. But definitely, it's a brilliant win for them. And look, we've questioned their home form this season, and I think JP made a good point there. Like, maybe a few months ago, they might not have got that win, and it's a serious moment of quality from Michael Duffy, who has been doing it for years. Like, you know what I mean? It's no big surprise. Like, so he's a top class player, and look, it was good to see that he is getting a bit of form now, because he has had a tough year. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, brilliant for Derry.
I don't think we've grinded out enough of ones this year, to be honest with you, Keith. I know back the start of the season where we maybe scored 3 or 4 late winners, but that's where you're pushing to try and get the one. I don't think we've grinded out enough ones this year where we're winning and the teams are coming on to us trying to get an equaliser. And I think that showed on our side to Derry that we need to show for the way forward if we're going to be serious next year, and really trying to really push Shamrock Rovers, because I think this year we're pushing them now at the minute, but they haven't really been tested, if you know what I mean. And between now and the end of the season, I don't see us overturning that 4-point gap. But I think this is between now and the end of the season, if we can put in more performances like that, maybe kill teams off a bit better, it'll show the potential. It'll show what we might need to add for next season.
Absolutely. Ahead of the game, Park finished Drogheda United nils and Parks to Leg 2. And Luke, Drogheda will be delighted to see the back of Pats for this season, I'm sure. But look, I got to go to JP first for this one because Luke was at the game, now he's at the game. And just the decisions before we talk about the other things as well. Obviously, Pats were given a penalty, JP, earlier on, where Owen Doyle actually missed the penalty and was saved after 6 minutes by Colin McCabe. And then Anto Breslin was sent off after 23. Your thoughts on both, please?
I think justice was done when McCabe saved the penalty. I can't honestly understand how that penalty was given. Look at the defender sliding in, he's trying to block a ball, but his hands is on the ground. He hasn't tried to make himself bigger. He's sliding in. They try because he thinks the ball is going to go. He's sliding in. It's not even conclusive from the replay of whether it even hits his hand or arm or whatever. I think Serge just sticks his hand up looking for handball in the rear, and it's been given. But look, I don't think it was a penalty. No, definitely not.
I didn't even see a handball, funnily enough. I'll just throw that in. I didn't even see a handball, even if that comes into the argument, which I would think was harsh anyway, because you say you're sliding in. But even apart from that, I've watched it multiple times now. I haven't seen a handball.
I've tried to rewind it and see, does it even touch his hand, or where does it touch his hand? You know what I mean? So, the referee must have been in a really, really good position to be able to spot that.
Or the linesman, maybe. You think the linesman might have given it, Luke, do you? Because you were on that side.
Yeah, to be honest. Oh God, like it's it doesn't. I have no words for it really. Like it's dreadful. Like I had literally just arrived at my seat when Serge got down the line. And it's a brilliant tackle, I thought, by Evan Weir, and the crowd were delighted with the tackle, and then the referee is pointing to the spot. I'm like, I was like, what? The linesman as well, flagging it as well. I don't know. I've no idea. I don't know where they've seen this one. It's a horrible decision.
The linesman flag it?
Apparently so. Yeah. Didn't he, Luke? Yeah. So I don't. As I said, I've watched it loads of times. Like, when I was at the game from the way end, I couldn't see, to be honest, because you can't see. When it's that far in the box, JP, you can't see.
It's like he was dying to give a penalty or something. That's what it looked like. Do you know what I mean? It's like he was dying to give a penalty. Any sort of, anything in the box, I'm just going to give a penalty here. Like, it's a horrible decision. Horrible.
It's terrible. I think we're all agreed it's a terrible decision. On the red cards, JP.
Oh, like there's no argument from my point of view that. He's not happy with the decision given against him. He's just got up and he's raised his hand. And in my view, in an aggressive manner, you can't lift your hand or your arm to somebody's face unless the force is negligible. And I don't think the force was. I think there was force in what he's done. Like he's gone up and he's grabbed him by the face, and no complaints. I don't think Anto Breslin can have any complaints. And if anybody even decides to try and say that that's not a red card, then unfortunately, I'm sorry, but they need to go and read the law book.
Yeah, unfortunately, once you raise your hand, like it's a red card, there's no point saying how good or bad the push was. Of course, the player, Luke, does go down easily. That's going to happen. We know that player's going to do that because I do that. You're giving the player an excuse. Like you've given the player and you've given the referee an excuse. So for me, it's a red card. Luke?
Yeah, look, I initially, when I first seen it, I had no doubt about it. When it happened live, I think like you shouldn't be giving the referee that decision to make, to be honest. Now I do think there is a softness to it. You know what I mean? There definitely is a softness to it. But if you're raising your hand to another player and if you're giving the referee that decision to make, you shouldn't be doing it. And for that reason, then it probably is a red card. But it's a bit of a moment of madness from Breslin, I think, to be honest, because it is quite it's unlike him. Like he is a player who plays on the edge. He's a good player, but it was a bit of a moment of madness for him, and I think Luke Heaney is quite clever as well, to be honest. And I think if anyone is going to say Luke Heaney's gone down very easily as well, yeah, you do the same thing yourself.
It's irrelevant. It's an invalid excuse. I don't think that's ever a valid excuse, but the player went down easy. Like, so what? It's a red
Yeah,
card, end of story.
you hear
So
it though. You do hear it though.
you do hear it,
It
but
was
you do hear it. But I'm just saying, like, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
it was the aggression in Anto Breslin's approach as well. There was aggression in his approach. They put his hand on the player's face. So like, whether he went down or not, I still think a referee's sending him off.
Yeah, I agree as well. On to the game now. Obviously, Pats won by 2-0, and goals from Mark Doyle in 70 and Forrester with a late penalty. And obviously, you think from a Pats point of view, you miss a penalty after 6 minutes and you get players sent off after 23. You're in serious bother here. But I wouldn't even say, I'll be honest, I wouldn't even say Pats grinded out a result here. I thought they played well against a team who had 11 on the pitch. We'll get on to Luke in a minute, but I mean, it says it all when the Drogheda man the match, so to speak, was given as Colin McCabe. You know what I mean? 70-odd minutes, Pats obviously had an extra man, and they did create chances. They had opportunities. I thought they played good football. They limited Drogheda to very few, didn't they, Luke, as well? Chances as well. And when the goal came from Mark Doyle with 20 minutes to go, it did feel like it was coming in a sense. And I tell you where Drogheda be disappointed here. You have an extra man in the field and it came from a set piece, a free kick. Forrester lofts it in. Obviously, Redmond wins the first header and Doyle's in hand to score. So you're kind of going, surely don't give a goal away from a set piece with an extra man. So that's disappointing. The penalty laid on, I think it's a foul, in my opinion, on Tunde. Forrester slips it away and that kind of wins the game. But overall, I thought Pats were very excellent the game, considering they showed a lot of spirit. It's 5 wins in a row, the first time they've done that since 2016, by the way. And a very good result. And they're pushing on Dundalk's door now, or knocking on their door, Luke. But how do you see it from a Drogheda point of view then?
Not good enough. Not really good enough, to be honest. I think, you've got 11 men. You've got 1 extra man for most of the game.
Sorry, according to the Irish Times, you'd 14 men.
Oh, did you see that, lad? Seriously. Who let the GAA correspondent report on that, to be honest? Anyways, look, it's not good enough. Yeah, or rugby, yeah. It's not good enough, to be honest. It's not really, like, it's disappointing, to be honest. Like, I was thinking, I was like, look, we've saved a penalty. We've got Breslин's gotten sent off. You know what I mean? It's starting to go our way. The crowd was loud as always. You know what I mean? There was a bit of a hype about it. I kind of was starting to feel maybe it is going to be Droghed's night tonight. Maybe they're going to get a win against Pats. But just after that, they didn't do anything. Like, didn't do enough. Like, there was a lot of, that final ball was you're nearly there. Do you know what I mean? And the chances we did have were a lot of half chances. There was only one real clear-cut chance I saw from Dale Rooney, and that's probably the only clear-cut chance of the game. And I know, look, Foley puts a brilliant ball across the box, and Cotter does really well. Got a little bit lucky as well that he didn't put it into the back of his own net. But it's disappointing because Pats are fully deserved to win it. Pats are fully merited to win, and I had no arguments over it, to be honest. Just very disappointed with the way Drogheda played, to be honest. I was very surprised by the way Drogheda played, because it's disappointing. You know what I mean? It is disappointing, and we've done really well this season, really well this season, and that's a really disappointing result. And I was actually quite deflated after it, to be honest, Keith. Like, I remember talking to you that night, and I was just quite deflated after it. It was disappointing because you're down. You've got 11 men for so long in the game, and you've got that extra man. And the goal to give away is disappointing. So it's a disappointing night overall. Not Drogheda's night. But look, they've got to put that behind them now. And look, I know they've a few weeks now to digest that one, but that will be a sore one, to be honest, because it's really disappointing. But look, it's really disappointing.
Yeah, you just hope that their season isn't filtering out as such. But at the same time, it feels like job is done. But we'll see what happens in the coming weeks with Drogheda. But Talca Park for Shelbourne 0. Sligo Rovers 2, and Sligo with a couple of wins in a row. I was going to say 3 wins in a row, but of course that match against Dundalk was overturned. So Livock on 23, Keena 66. This was a strange one though in a way because I think I said in the preview, Luke, that I don't know, Shelbourne might have one eye in the game against Bowes next week, and I do think they probably did. I mean, they had Griffin, O'Driscoll, Malloy at centre back. They kind of rested a few players at Niggles, the likes of Luke Byrne, etc. But that said, they created an awful lot of chances in this game, actually, and they were the dominant force. And then they conceded through a sucker punch. Livock does brilliantly to get through and obviously beats O'Driscoll for pace and scores.
Yeah.
And no, Shelbourne did have chances. Matty Smith, Sean Boyd had chances. They had chances in the game. But then they give away a silly second goal. I mean, they've done that a lot this season. I have highlighted this now. They haven't really done it for a while, but I remember earlier on the season, middle season, I've highlighted this where they give the ball away very cheaply and they just get caught. And Keane runs in, of all people. Keane is the man there, and he's just going to bury it, like literally, because he's some power in his shot as well. And top scorer in the league, Keane, very, very good player. But like, I'll start with JP with this one. Like, how do you even digest this result for both teams? Because obviously Sligo are 10 points behind St. Pat's. They're not qualifying for Europe, let's be real here. Shelbourne are on 33 points and 7th. They're not getting relegated or anything like that. So it's almost like a nothing game in a sense, isn't it, really, when it comes to it?
It is. Just that you touched on that Dundalk result getting overturned, which has probably essentially ruled them out of any challenge for Europe. Like, but I saw I saw the highlights in this game and saw the highlights in every game, to be honest. But I saw a tweet from a Shelbourne fan saying that there was a huge Luke Byrne gap in that Shelbourne team. This was before I saw the highlights, and obviously he will know better than I did, but he'll know the team better than I do. But when I saw the highlights and the chances they missed, especially in the first 10, 15 minutes, there was three big ones. I think two of them fell to Sean Boyd, and the others fell to Shane Farrell.
I think the header from Sean Boyd, though, he has to score that. He
has to score. He has to. And Shane Farrell, you'd expected him to take that one. And if they take one of them, it's a different game, I feel, especially at Talker Park. But then he's talked about their hit by a sucker punch for the second one. I think the first one was a sucker punch because it was just a ball right over the top, and your man picks up brilliantly. And then Aidan Keena, like, everybody questioned his signing at the start of the season because he'd been kind of like a journeyman.
Including myself. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, he's come in, he's took the league by storm. He's leading the goal scoring charge by 5. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if come the winter, either Derry or Shamrock Rovers try and throw Sligo a few quid from him. I really wouldn't. Because
it's not just his goals, JP, as well, though. It's his hold-up play and his build, his all-round play along with the goals.
Yeah, exactly. Like he seems to have it all. Like, and a top quality player. Unfortunately for Sligo Rovers, they're 10 points off the pace. So, the good thing for Sligo is that they do still have him under contract, so they're the one that holds the cards. So, as you say, it's an often game, but it's about trying to finish high as you could possibly can now for these two teams, I think, along with Bows. Because I don't think Shelbourne are going to get relegated. I don't think Sligo are going to make Europe. Not going to make a top 4 anyway. And they've exited the Cup to Wexford, which would be really, really disappointing. So both these teams, their seasons are essentially finished, to be honest. But they just have to keep going now for the next 7 games.
Of course, Shelbourne have the cup game against Bowes next week, so that we'll get onto that later on. But Shelbourne and Bowes, obviously, that's a season-defining game. But that's a season-defining game for both those. You know what I mean? Like, because whoever loses that, their season is over. But we'll talk about that in the preview show, obviously, for the cup. But I'll move on, actually, Luke, and I'll start with you here with UCD and Dundalk, not Drogheda. UCD 3, Dundalk 2. Tommy Lonergan with 2 goals for UCD. Duffy with 1. Ward and Bradley for Dundalk. Now, big blow for Dundalk. This, you would have thought, after getting the present, let's be honest, of the 3 points. Now, to be honest, that was the right decision, by the way. But, you know, it is a gift, the 3 points to Dundalk. They might have kind of got a bit of a lift from that. But Keith Ward scores a brilliant free kick in 40 minutes. Lonergan equalises on 51. Bradley scores in 59 for Dundalk. And 11 minutes of madness was Dylan Duffy scores a brilliant goal, in my opinion, to make it 2-2, and Lonergan then scores after good work from Duffy, and they're really striking up a bit of a partnership there to give UCD a fantastic win for them against Dundalk. I think just for the first goal, Shepherd unusually probably should have done better from Lonergan's first goal, but we'll talk about UCD first, Luke, to be fair. And like, UCD are now 9th in the table, a point ahead of Finn Harps, and the way they're both playing, them and Finn Harps, things are looking very different. And UCD are playing with the confidence. You feel like they might lose 2 in a row and then they might win 1. You know what I mean? So they're picking up their 3 points. And to come from 2-1 down against Dundalk for UCD is no mean feat at all, is it? To get that win?
I fancied UCD, to be honest. I think I said in the preview show that Dundalk have got to be careful of Lonergan and Duffy, and Lonergan and Duffy pretty much ran the show. And
they mustn't have watched the show.
honestly, but look, it's. I seen a thing after the game that Stevie says that the High Line is a narrative that's grown legs, which is rubbish. It's absolute rubbish.
I'm sorry.
It's not a narrative. It's a problem. It's a serious problem.
And it's been spotted a long time ago. And to be honest, I've spotted it last year as well. But there you go.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a problem because Dundalk don't have the centre halves to play this High Line. And look, I've said it every week, and it's until it's changed, we're going to keep saying it. You know what I mean? Because it's
ironically though, in Luke, in this game, I'm not sure if any of the goals UCD scored were because of the High Line as such in this particular game.
No, I know.
But it just shows they're at 6s and 7s, and maybe the defence have lost confidence along with that now also.
But the teams that they're playing against are getting confidence as well against them. Do you know what I mean? And they're probably going into the game saying during the weeks before leading up to the game that we can beat these. Do you know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing to fear here, and it's proven, to be honest. And look, we could be having different conversations about Dundalk this season. I think Dundalk have done really well, to be honest. But see that I think they overall, and I think they are lucky to still be in the cup, if I'm honest. So they do have obviously a big game in the cup coming up, but they are quite lucky to still be in it. That game against Wexford will still be kicking themselves about that, because that was a brilliant opportunity for Wexford. And Dundalk, we could be having different conversations about Dundalk, and we could be saying Dundalk might not have European football next season. Because it is still a possibility that they might not. But that 3 points against Sligo might be important to come the end of the season. But they've got to win games now. Do you know what I mean? They've got to get more points, Dundalk. They've got to get bounce back from this. They've obviously got allowed Derby when the league does resume in a few weeks. So that'll be interesting, of course, as always. But like Oriel Park, you know what I mean? They still have that record, don't they, at Oriel Park this season?
They're still unbeaten at home, though, in the league,
It is funny. It is funny, but it's disappointing for Dundalk, but it's brilliant for UCD. Like UCD quality, up front, Lonergan, Duffy looking really good. Lonergan has really impressed me the last few weeks. I've always sort of said a bit as well about Duffy. Like, he is a good player, and when you come through the Shamrock Rovers set up there, you know what I mean. At that age, like you have to have a bit of quality about you, and he was in the first team a bit last season. He's just
unbelievable. So
Dylan Duffy's finish, it was a great finish. Lovely finish.
Yeah, but he's a good player. He's a good player, and if he'll keep improving on the UCD with first team minutes and that, you know what I mean, and regular football, and he's doing really well. So it's a brilliant win for UCD. And look, you would fancy UCD to get this playoff spot now. Look, you don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the season, but if the UCD can get into this playoff spot, what's stopping UCD beating one of the first division teams? Honestly, what is stopping them? Because I don't think there is anything. I think they beat Galway. I think they could beat Galway, like they've already done in the cup. I think they didn't. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
wouldn't it be a little bit ironic? Wouldn't it be a little bit ironic if they played Waterford again and beat them again to stay in? Actually get promotion and then stay in the division, like crazy. But you're right, though. You're right. I agree with you 100%. Like, I mean, whoever comes up through the playoffs, even if they're playing Harps, if Harps would get through, it's a one-off game. You don't know.
Yeah.
But at this minute in time with UCD, you'd kind of nearly fancy UCD.
Yeah, you would 100%. So look, that's going to be interesting next few weeks, and they've got some big games. I think JP was saying it before we came on air that their second last game of the season is against the Harps, so they're going to be they will have an eye on that game, and they're also in a cup quarter final. So I think you were saying the other night, Keith, what if they end up in the Aviva? They could be playing European football next season. But look, they're doing really well at the minute. Do you know what I mean? And I think they have shot up above expectations, to be honest. Look, it's a little bit down to Harps being so poor at the minute.
Yeah.
As well. So look, fair play to UCD, brilliant 3 points, and it really gives them confidence now.
JP, how are you seeing Dundalk after that result, and obviously latest results, but how are you seeing them at the moment?
Not good. Because if you take out that 3 points, and he's touched on already, they've been gifted it. Yeah, it was the right decision. They were entitled to them.
Yeah.
But if you look at the league table now, without them 3 points, they'd have dropped out of the top three. Derry are playing Shamrock Rovers. So that's one of them ones they're going to go out of the cup. If St. Pat's, who are already out of the cup, end up in the top three, you'd essentially think that Derry, Shamrock, Rovers are going to be the top two. One of them's going out of the cup next week. If St. Pat's end up in the third place, that only leaves one of the top three in the cup then for the semi-finals. And so essentially Dundalk are probably going to have to go and win the cup themselves to get into Europe, because at the minute the momentum's with St. Pat's. They've won their last 5 in a row. And I can see St. Pat's finishing in the top three. The way the form is going, this was my most favourite result the other night, because I know a lot of teams don't like UCD being in the league because they don't think they bring a lot, but I absolutely love having them in the league because they play a nice brand of football. They're not afraid to take teams on. We saw them in the week before in the Brandywell. They were absolutely excellent on the counter-attack. Like Derry didn't play well against them.
And JP, the other argument there, anyway, just quickly, there is the fact that if they're in the league, they're in the league of merit. I mean, if there's other teams not in the league, that's their fault, not UCD's fault. So that's my argument.
Like, I love having them in the league because they keep players within the league that otherwise we could possibly lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see Alexa Georgie Kelly and Robbie Benson and all them going on. They have good careers within the League Ireland or further afield. And there's plenty of others. And it was an amazing result because they not once did they give up the other night. They behind twice, and then they went on to get a winner. And I know you touched on there was none of the goals really came from the high line with Dundalk, but I think the winning goal possibly was a wee bit because it was a ball over the top that Dundalk couldn't deal with. The left back's looking for offside. UCD play on around the keeper stick at the top corner. Fantastic result for UCD. And I know a few months back we were talking about how can you judge Andy Myler this season with it. There you go. He's lost his best 2 players this season, Colin Whelan and Liam Kerrigan, and he's now got Dylan Duffy and Tommy Larrigan. So
and even Euro at the back, Euro at the back has gone to Bolton, so yeah.
Exactly.
John Ryan as well.
Yeah, so there you go. That's how you judge him. He's got a good brand of football going, and he's got a proper team together that never give up, that they fight to the very last. And that's exactly what they've done the other night. And they come away with 3 points, and they're now off the bottom, which is great for them.
Shamrock Rovers 5, Finn Harps 1 at Tallaght Stadium, and that was tonight, guys. I watched this one, and Luke watched this one as well. 2 goals from Ferrugia, 1 from Gaffney, 1 from Lyons, 1 from Burm. Saya after 57 minutes, actually probably with the best goal of the game, actually, for Finn Harps. That's the only thing Finn Harps to take out of it, to be honest, because I got to be honest here, Luke. Very poor performance from Finn Harps, to say the least. We talk about the lack of spirit in the last few weeks. 4-0 down at half time here. Were Rovers brilliant? No, not particularly. They were decent, but they weren't absolutely brilliant in the game. Job done for them because, I mean, you're 4-0 up at half time. You've got that game against Ghent. That's right, Ghent, not Genk, on Thursday as well coming up. You know what I mean? So job done for them. They could rest players at half time. Couldn't have went any better for them. Finn Harps look like they're in big, big trouble now. We just spoke about UCD and, the way they turned around against a good Dundalk side, and getting the result there. But, we didn't expect Harps to go to Tallaght Stadium and get a result, but they were well and truly beaten, and they just look like a team that's dead, Luke. I know they're a point behind UCD. They just look dead or something.
Very easy. Just so easy, for Shamrock Rovers. It's the goals are, look, there's some good goals there, but as well, some of them as well, there's a lack of tracking back, and it was just easy for Shamrock Rovers. I noticed it from the kickoff. It was the centre halves for Finn Harps and the midfield. There was just a huge gap. It was just, I don't know what it was. It was madness because Rovers had so much time on the ball, and I don't think Rovers were particularly good. Obviously they were good enough to get a 5-1 win, but they were I've seen them. They've definitely played better, and I think they'll be really, really pleased with the way they won that game, and probably not playing to their 100% because look, they're not gonna play with 110% at the minute because they've so many games and they've had so many games in the last couple of weeks, and they've got 2 games in a week, and they're in that sort of position, but. It's a position that I think we've all said it's a position that you wish your club are in, obviously, because it's they're playing in Conference League and then they're playing in the league, and they're this close to getting their 3rd league and title in a row, and it's unbelievable. And they've made Finn Harps look really, really poor there, and it was just so easy. Like the goals are just easy, and look, as I said, there is some good ones there, but definitely some of the defending for the goals as well. I think even the first goal, the defending,
first goal's horrible. I think, yeah, I think the first goal's
it's so
horrible.
Easy. No, it is horrible. It's so easy. Ferrugia is able to come into the box, take a touch, and set himself to put the ball into the back of the net. So easy, and he's only like 4 or 5 yards out. Like, do you know what I mean?
And that was with 2 defenders around him.
Yeah, and it shouldn't happen. He shouldn't be let. And he shouldn't be let take that touch. You know what I mean? Like them defenders should be in on top of that.
Even the second goal, Harps had about 6 or 7 players in the box. A decent move by Rovers, but Ferrugia gets into the box in 8. How are you in the box in 8 acres of space with 6 or 7 Finn Harps players in the box? That's a lack of effort. That's a lack of effort that comes down to. And then the second goal to give away, the penalty as well. I think it was Ryan Rainey who gave it away. It's just a silly, pointless penalty to give away. You're digging your own grave, you see. That's my point. Like, you know,
I think Finn Harps are playing. Finn Harps are actually playing like they're relegated. Finn Harps are playing the way Longford played at this point of the season last season, playing like they're relegated. Like they're not relegated. They need to know that.
And we're so used to seeing them play with so much spirit and fight and aggression down through the years, and it's just not there.
Yeah, they look like they're playing with a team that looks like, we'll just turn up here, and you know, if we get a bit of luck, we'll get a bit of luck. But if we don't, it's all right. You know what I mean? It's not all right because you could be relegated next season, but they're not yet. Do you know what I mean? They're still in it. Like, do you know what I mean? Look, they are bottom of the league, and they're going to be lack of confidence and all. But if you get 1 or 2 results that go your way, then you're well up there. Do you know what I mean? You're going to be in that playoff spot, and you could still have a serious chance in the playoffs because it's a one-off game to stay up in the division. But they look like a team who are nearly accepting their fate. Like, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? Because they're not out of it yet. But great win for Rovers, who, you know, again, another step closer to achieving that 3rd title in a row.
Yeah, JP, I think from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, you know, a lot of talk about Derry a point behind them going into the game, but I felt fairly confident Rovers were going to win this game. So I actually saw it as Rovers would go 4 points ahead with the game in hand. They're obviously in that position now. Will they be happy enough to be in that position, do you think, 4 points up with the game in hand? It all depends on the game in hand as well, clearly, like, you know, when that is and if they win it or not and stuff. But do you think they'll be happy enough with their position, or do you think they'll be kind of wary at the same time?
They'll be happy. They will be. But because I think they're game in hands against UCD, which I think is possibly in the next week or 2. So there's a Shelbourne one. I don't know. I think their game in hand is UCD. I think it's before the end of the month anyway. So they will be happy, but at the same time they will be weary. Because the more Derry play, because they're going to be playing 3 games a week now for the rest of the season. Because of the games that they have I know there's going to be a break shortly in the Conference League, but they'll have league games to catch up. So because I think they play Derry on the Sunday, so they have a league game on the Thursday, so they can fit in another league game on the Sunday. I was just looking at their fixtures there tonight. So essentially Derry are going to be playing before them between now and the end of the season. So that'll give Derry a chance to close the gap. So Rovers will be weary. I think it all depends on Tuesday night and how Derry get on against Sligo, who are in a good run. It will be difficult for Derry to get that win, but I think
if one, you're right. Sorry, I'll just cut across quickly. They've won game against Shelbourne, and then they're in the league now, and then their game in hand is at home to UCD. So they've kind of won game before they play their game in hand in the league.
Yeah. So I think no, that when you're atop the league, 4 points clear, 8 games to go, you have to be happy. But I think they couldn't have asked for a better fixture, to be honest. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Finn Harps, but literally they could not have asked for a better fixture coming off the back of a really good performance in Europe. Down, especially in the second half. They picked up a couple of injuries in that game, I think, too. Sean Hoare had to go off early. I know they've got Roberto Lopez back and he's back running, but he's back in training. That's another thing. So
it's not too bad, JP, when Hoare goes off injured early and you've got Dan Cleary to come on, is it?
And you've already got Roberto Lopez out injured. So they've got so
some would argue Cleary's a better player, so you know as well. But there you go.
Yeah, but look, say they couldn't have asked for a better fixture. They were 4-0 up at half time. Once they got the second, the floodgates just seemed to open. At that point, it was just about being professional and seeing the game out. I know Harps got to go back and they've hit the bar and all after that, but I don't think there was any serious threat of a comeback happening. But going on touching about Finn Harps, like we spoke about them last week, Keith, and the goal that they scored against St. Pat's, it came in the 21st minute, and they celebrated like it was a consolation in the 91st minute, and that was telling for me because
it tells me the spirit isn't there. Like
it's not there. It's definitely not there. And as Lucas touched on it, they're playing like a team that has already accepted their fit, that they're relegated. They're a point behind. They have a better goal difference. So if they go and get a point, they're off. If they go get a point, UCD or beat, they're off the bottom. You know what I mean? Like so, it's so it's hard to explain. And I'm sure Finn Harps fans are absolutely disappointed with what they're seeing at the minute from their team. But they're a team that are they're disjointed at the minute. Like I don't think they've no leadership, especially at the back. They've no leader. Their midfield just seems to be getting weaker and weaker. I don't think they're playing McNamee where in his best position, but do they have the players to be able to play him in his best positions? Another thing. And then at the other end, up the top, they score the goals on a regular basis like Irish. So you have to be worried for them because if they go down, I just don't see no way back up for them straight away, or could potentially take. I know the last time they went out of the league in 2000 and out of the Premier Division in 2008, and it took them 8 years to get back before Horgan came in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it could well be something similar if they go get relegated this year, and it's a one-off. It's a one-off game in the playoff, neutral venue, and we all know that what they've been like in the playoffs themselves is that they're a hard team. They beat in the playoffs, but that was over 2 legs. Do they have the desire, the heart, the determination over one game? You know what I mean? Like if you're to ask me now, who's more likely to beat a first division team in the playoff final, UCD or Finn Harps? You're saying UCD all day long because I don't like that game, the Dundalk game against UCD. Finn Harps don't win that game unless they take the lead. They don't win that game unless they take the lead, and that's what you're watching with Finn Harps at the minute. Unless they take the lead, they seem beaten from even if a goal scored in the first 5 minutes. They seem a beaten team once they go behind.
I'll give them a glimmer of good news here. They do play Shelbourne in 2 games' time, and they've a good record against Shelbourne this season. They've beaten them a few times, so we'll leave it on that. We'll leave it there. Give them a bit of something, a bit of hope. And guys, subscribe at home, hit your bell notification button, and let us know what you think in the comments. Cheers, boys! Brilliant.
Cheers. Thank you.